Crazy lies lead people to believe crazy things, which leads them to do crazy things. That part is true.
So Ben Shapiro just released a masterclass on political speech after the latest assassination attempt on Trump. He's breaking down why conspiracy theories create real violence while distinguishing them from normal political rhetoric. This framework explains why our discourse has become so dangerous. Let's break this down.
We'll discuss three basic standards when it comes to political speech in the United States. First, there's the illegal.
The First Amendment has exactly 6 categories of unprotected speech: threats, incitement, defamation, obscenity, fighting words, and fraud. Presidential threats are prosecuted under 18 U.S.C. 871, which carries up to 5 years in prison. Secret Service investigates about 3,000 cases annually.
Actually is illegal political speech in the United States. If you say, I want to go kill the president of the United States, that's illegal. It's incitement. Right? It's either incitement or it's an active threat.
Under federal statute 18 U.S.C. 871, threatening the president is a felony punishable by up to 5 years. The Secret Service investigated over 8,400 threats against Trump in 2017 alone, nearly double Obama's peak year. Most cases result in mental health evaluations rather than prosecutions.
Hey, you should go kill the president of the United States. That would be under the Brandenburg test. That's a Supreme Court piece of precedent. That would be incitement and illegal. Incitement under that test is any speech that is intended to and likely to incite imminent lawless action.
Brandenburg v. Ohio from 1969 overturned the old clear and present danger test, requiring speech to incite imminent lawless action. That word imminent protects almost all political speech. You can't prosecute someone for saying revolution unless they're directing immediate violence.
So even if I say you should go kill the president, I'd probably have to say, for it to be legal incitement, I want you to go kill the president right now. Go kill the president. If I said that, obviously I'm using this as an example, no one should ever do political violence, then in that particular scenario, that would be incitement.
This Brandenburg standard explains why January 6 prosecutions focused on conspiracy and sedition charges rather than incitement. Even Trump's fight like hell speech didn't meet the imminent standard. Most political rhetoric, however inflammatory, remains legally protected under this framework.
There is typical inflammatory rhetoric. This would be stuff like fight, fight, fight. Or, for example, the Sarah Palin map of districts back in 2010 or so that targeted particular congressional districts. One of those districts that was targeted was the district of Gabby Giffords, and the left tried to claim that because of that map, somebody tried to shoot Gabby Giffords. That's silly. That's silly. And when people say we need to go to war with the Democrats or we need to go war with the Republicans, is that the sort of thing that is going to lead to actual violence? No, because that sort of rhetoric is pretty typical in politics. A normal inflammatory rhetoric. And we should not conflate that with incitement.
This middle category trips up most politicians and pundits. They treat normal political combat language, destroy the opposition, political warfare, as if it's dangerous incitement. This conflation actually makes society less safe by diluting our ability to identify real threats.
And just to be perfectly honest about this stuff, we should not. And then there is the permission structure for violence we have been talking about a lot over the course of the last couple of years. That's the stuff that's truly dangerous. This is the conspiracism, the justification of violence. This is how you get to crazy people thinking the president is a pedophile, meaning a threat to children, a rapist, meaning a threat to women, and a traitor, meaning a threat to the country. And in charge.
Jared Loughner, who shot Giffords, was severely mentally ill and obsessed with grammar and conspiracy theories about government mind control. FBI found zero evidence he'd ever seen Palin's map. Blaming political graphics for schizophrenic delusions was political opportunism, not serious analysis.
Systems of power and therefore can only be stopped through violence. Right? That's the sort of stuff that we are talking about as truly, truly dangerous. And conflating these things leads to confusion that leads to inaction. Because if you try to lump in...
Military metaphors dominate Democratic language because politics is fundamentally about competing for power. From campaign to battleground states to war rooms, this rhetoric dates to ancient Greece. Banning combat metaphors would essentially eliminate political discourse entirely.
The Democrats are pedophilically attacking children at a pizzeria, or the president of the United States is running a pedophile grooming gang. Right? Those are
Conspiracy thinking creates what scholars call epistemological closure, a sealed worldview where normal democratic processes seem illegitimate. Unlike inflammatory rhetoric, conspiracies provide moral justification for violence by painting opponents as existential threats requiring elimination.
the same thing. And treating them as the same thing leads to, I think, inaction, inability for us to agree on what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. So Caroline Leavitt yesterday at the White House, I think, focused in properly on the types of speech that Cole Allen was engaged in, the kind of stuff that was driving him toward violent action. Here she is talking about his manifesto.
The left-wing cult of hatred against the president and all of those who support him and work for him has gotten multiple people hurt and killed, and it almost did so again this weekend.
And she pointed out correctly at the White House that it's deranged lies that lead crazy people to believe crazy things. This is correct. This is correct. By the way, again, largely on the left, but certainly not relegated to the left. If somebody were to take a shot at Erica Kirk today, that would likely be because of
QAnon perfectly illustrates this progression. If Democrats literally eat children and control all institutions, then normal politics can't stop them. The conspiracy provides both the motive and the moral permission for violence. This differs fundamentally from saying, fight the establishment.
when you create insane theories about people being corrupt and evil and using their power in corrupt and evil ways, and those conspiracy theories suggest those people are a threat to you, it is not a gigantic surprise when somebody tries an assassination. Here was Caroline Leavitt.
Just 2 days prior to the shooting, ABC's late-night host Jimmy Kimmel disgustingly called First Lady Melania Trump an expectant widow.
This creates the boy who cried wolf problem. When everything is called dangerous, nothing seems dangerous. Lumping together fight like hell with actual conspiracy theories makes society unable to distinguish real threats from normal political combat.
Experience what I did with the First Lady on Saturday night. I can tell you that she was anything but that. This kind of rhetoric about the president, the First Lady, and his supporters is completely deranged, and it's unbelievable.
Caroline Leavitt serves as White House press secretary under Trump's second term. She's referring to Ryan Routh's attempted assassination at Trump's golf course, where his social media showed obsession with conspiracy theories about Trump being a dictatorial threat to democracy.
There. Okay, now, let me be clear. I think Jimmy Kimmel is awful. I think he is terrible. I think he's been terrible for over a decade, like well over a decade. The first time I got in a public spat with Jimmy Kimmel is when he was defending socialized medicine on the basis that his child had an open heart surgery at Children's Hospital in LA. And he did a very weepy monologue on his show about that.
Consider the pattern. James Hodgkinson shot Republicans after consuming rhetoric about fascist GOP destroying democracy. The Ruth attempt followed similar dehumanizing language. When you convince people someone is Hitler, you shouldn't be shocked when someone tries to stop Hitler.
Less than sympathetic, because my child had had a similar open heart surgery from the exact same surgeon, and that did not make me an expert on the healthcare system. What makes you an expert is actually knowing things. So I think Jimmy Kimmel's been terrible at his job for years. I think that he has surrendered laughter in favor of clapter, applause from his left-wing friends. So if Jimmy Kimmel were to get fired, I would shed 0 tears. 0. I think that he is a propagandist. I do not think that he is funny. I think that he has sort of betrayed his audience.
The psychology here is crucial. Conspiracy frameworks override normal moral restraints by reframing violence as defensive. Whether it's QAnon or Trump is Hitler rhetoric, the mechanism is identical. Paint the target as an existential threat requiring extraordinary measures.
Left-wing agitprop. But in this particular situation, I will say, I think that if Jimmy Kimmel were to be fired over his comments about Melania again last Thursday, And again, listen, I'd be the first person to celebrate Jimmy Kimmel being on the unemployment line for being bad at his job. And for some of the other things that he said. But getting Jimmy Kimmel for saying what he said on Thursday is like getting Al Capone for tax evasion. You're hitting him with the wrong charge.
Mainstream media creates these permission structures without direct incitement. When late-night hosts repeatedly call Trump Hitler, when pundits say democracy dies if he wins, they're building the psychological framework that makes assassination seem like heroic resistance rather than murder. Watch how he applies his own framework consistently, even to people he despises. This intellectual honesty is rare in political commentary. Most pundits would use any excuse to attack their enemies, but principled analysis requires separating personal feelings from logical categories. This personal disclosure actually strengthens his argument. He's explicitly setting aside his animosity toward Kimmel to apply his framework fairly. When someone admits their bias but argues against their interests, it demonstrates the strength of their principles over partisanship. This Al Capone analogy is brilliant. Kimmel deserves criticism for being unfunny and partisan, but the expectant widow comment falls into inflammatory rhetoric, not conspiracy incitement. Maintaining these distinctions protects free speech while identifying actual dangers.